Okay. Further features of love for Krishna. There is the following statement in Hari in Hamsaduta. One day, when Srimati Radharani was feeling much affliction because of her separation from Krishna, she went to the bank of the Yamuna with some of her friends. There, Radharani saw a cottage wherein she and Krishna had experienced many loving pleasures, and by remembering those incidents, she immediately became overcome with dizziness. This dizziness was very prominently visible. This is an instance of confusion caused by separation. Similarly, there is a statement describing confusion caused by fearfulness. These symptoms were exhibited by Arjuna when he saw Krishna's universal form on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His confusion was so strong that his bow and arrows fell from his hand, and he could not perceive anything clearly.
Death. Once the Bakasur demon assumed the shape of a very big duck and opened his mouth in order to swallow Krishna and all the cowherd boys. When Krishna was entering into demon's mouth, Balram and other cowherd boys almost fainted and appeared, though they had no life. If the devotees are illusioned by some ghastly scene or by any accidental occurrence, they never forget Krishna. Even in the greatest danger, they can remember Krishna. This is the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Even at the time of death, when all the functions of the body become dislocated, the devotee can remember Krishna in his innermost consciousness. And in this saves him from falling down to the material existence. In this way, Krishna consciousness immediately takes one from the material platform to spiritual world. In this connection, there is a statement about the persons who died at Mathura. These persons had a slight breathing exhilaration. Their eyes were wide open. The colors of their body changed, and they began to utter the holy name of Krishna. In this condition, they gave up their material bodies. These symptoms are prior manifestations of death. Laziness. When because of self-satisfaction or dislike of excessive labor, a person does not perform his duty in spite of having the energy. He is called lazy. This laziness is also manifested in aesthetic love of Krishna. For example, when some Brahmanas were requested by Nand Maharaj to circumambulate Govardhan Hill, they told him that they were more interested in offering benedictions than in circumambulating Govardhan Hill. This is an instance of laziness caused by self-satisfaction. Once, when Krishna, along with his cowherd boyfriends, have was having a mock battle, Subala showed the symptoms of Krishna of fatigue. Krishna immediately told his other friend, Subala is feeling too fatigued from a mock fight with me. So please do not disturb him anymore by inviting him to fight. This is an instance of laziness caused by the dislike of excessive labor.
Inertness. In the 10th canto, 21st chapter, verse 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an appreciation by the gopis of the inertia of cows in Vrindavan. The gopis saw that the cows were hearing the sweet songs vibrated by Krishna's flute and were appearing to be drinking the nectar of these transcendental sounds. The calves were stunned and they forgot to drink the milk from the milk bags. Their eyes seemed to be embracing Krishna, and there were tears in their eyes. This is an instance of inertia resulting from hearing the transcendental vibrations of Krishna's flute. When Lakshmana became disturbed upon hearing words against Krishna, she remained inert and did not move her eyelids. This is another example of inertia caused by hearing. In the 10th canto, 21st chapter, verse 39 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an account of King Yudhishthir's bewilderment after his bringing Krishna into his home with the greatest respect. King Yudhishthir was very much bewildered because of his transcendental pleasure at having Krishna present in his house. In fact, while receiving Krishna, King Yudhishthir forgot himself. This is an instance of inertia resulting from the ecstasy of seeing Krishna. There is another instance in the 10th canto, 39th chapter, verse 36 of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna was going to Mathura, all the gopis All of the gopis were standing behind Krishna, and upon seeing the chariot leaving, they stood there stunned and did not move. They remained like that until the flag of the chariot and the dust thrown up by its wheels became invisible. Krishna was once addressed by his friend thus, "My dear Mukunda Krishna, due to their being separated from you, the cowherd boys are standing just like neglected deities in the house of a professional Brahmin. There is a class of professional Brahmins who take to the deity worship as a means of earning a livelihood. The Brahmins in this class are not very interested in the deity. They are interested mainly in the money they can earn as holy men. So the deities worshipped by such professional Brahmanas are not properly decorated. Their dress is not changed and their bodies are not clean. They look dirty and not very attractive. Actually, deity worship should be done very carefully. The dress should be changed daily, and as far as there should be, as far as possible, there should be ornaments. Everything should be so clean that the deity is attractive to all visitors. Here the example is given of the deities in the house of a professional Brahmana, because such deities are not at all attractive. The friends of Krishna, in the absence of Krishna, were appearing like such neglected deities.
Bashfulness. When Radharani was first introduced to Krishna, he was very bashful. One of her friends addressed her in this way: "My dear friend, you have already sold yourself and your beauty to Govinda. Now you should not be bashful. Please look upon him cheerfully. One who has sold an elephant to another person should not take a miserly quarrel about selling the trident and the controls of the elephant. This kind of bashfulness is due to a new introduction in aesthetic love with Krishna. The heavenly king Indra, upon being defeated in the fight with Krishna for possession of the Parijata flower, became very bashful because of his defeat. He was standing before Krishna, bowing down his head. When Krishna said, "All right, Indra, you can take this Parijat flower. Otherwise, you will not be able to show your face to your wife, Sachi Devi." Indra's bashfulness was due to defeat. In another instance, Krishna began to praise Uddhava for his various high qualifications. Upon being praised by Krishna, Uddhava also bowed down his head bashfully. In the Hari Vamsha, Satyabhama felt feeling slighted by Rukmini's high position, said, "My dear Krishna, the Raivataka mountain is always full of spring flowers. But when I have become um, persona non grata to you, what is the use of observing them?" This is an instance of bashfulness resulting from being defeated.
Concealment. There is a symptom of ecstatic love known as concealment, or trying to hide one's real mental condition by externally showing another attitude. In this state of mind, one tries to hide his mind by looking away in different directions, by unnecessarily trying for something that is impossible, or by using words that cover one's real thoughts. According to acharyas expert in the study of psychological activities, these attempts at hiding one's real affections are another part of ecstatic love for feeling for Krishna. In the 10th canto, 32nd chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami states, "My dear king, the gopis were always beautiful and decorated with confidential smiles and allurement and alluring garments. In their movements intended to give impetus to lusty feelings, they would sometimes press Krishna's hand on their laps and sometimes they would keep his lotus feet on their breast. After doing this, they would talk with Krishna as if they were very angry with him." There is another instance of this concealment in ecstatic love when Krishna, the supreme joker, planted the Parijata tree in the courtyard of Satyabhama. Rukmani, the daughter of King Vidarbha, became very angry. But due to her natural gentle behavior, she did not express anything. No one could understand Rukmani's real mental condition. This is an instance of competitive concealment. There is another instance in the first canto, 11th chapter, verse 32 of Srimad Bhagavatam. After entering Dwarika, Krishna was received in different ways by different members of his family. Upon seeing their husband from a distance, the queens of Dwarika immediately embraced him within their minds and slowly glanced over him. As Krishna came nearer, they pushed their son forward to embrace him. Others were trying out of shyness not to shed tears, but they could not keep the tears from gliding down. This is an instance of concealment caused by shyness. On another occasion, when Srimati Radharani thought that Krishna was involved with another woman, she addressed her friend in this manner: "My dear friend, as soon as I think of Krishna, the cowherd boy, attached to some other woman, I become stricken with fear and the hairs of my body stand up. I must be very careful that Krishna not see me at such times. This is an instance of concealment caused by shyness and diplomatic behavior." It has been stated, although Srimati Radharani developed a deep loving affection for Krishna, she hid her attitude in the core of her heart so that others could not detect her actual condition. This is an instance of concealment caused by gentleness. When Krishna and his cowherd friends were enjoying friendly conversations, Krishna began to address his associates in casual language. At that time, Krishna's servant Patri was enjoying the conversation, but then remembering his position of servitude, Patri bowed down before his master, and with great respect and control, he stifled his smiling. This subdued smiling is an instance of concealment caused by respective attitude.
Remembering. There are many symptoms of aesthetic love caused by remembering Krishna. For example, one friend of Krishna informed him, "My dear Mukunda, just after observing a bluish cloud in the sky, the lotus-eyed Radharani immediately began to remember you. And simply by observing this cloud, she became lusty for your association." This is an instance for remembering Krishna and aesthetic love because of seeing something resembling him. Krishna's bodily complexion is very similar to the bluish hue of a cloud. So simply by observing a bluish cloud, Srimati Radharani remembered him. One devotee said that even when he was not very attentive, he would sometimes, seemingly out of madness, remember the lotus feet of Krishna within his heart. This is an instance of remembrance resulting from constant practice. In other words, devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, even if they are momentarily inattentive, will see the figure of Lord Krishna appearing within their hearts. Argumentativeness. Madhumangal was an immediate friend of Krishna, coming from the Brahmana community. Krishna's friends were mostly cowherd boys belonging to the Vaishya community, but there were others who belonged to the Brahmana community. Actually, in Vrindavan, the Vaishya community and the Brahmana community are considered prominent. This Madhumangala one day addressed Krishna in this fashion: "My dear friend, I can see that you are not aware of the feathers that are falling on the ground, and at the same time, you are unmindful of the flower garlands that are offered to you. I think that I can guess the reason for your um, absent-mindedness when I see your two eyes flying over the eyes of Srimati Radharani, just like black drones flying to lotus flower. This is an instance of argumentative suggestion in aesthetic love. Once, while Krishna was walking out, one of the associates of Radharani told her, "My dear friend, do you think that this walking personality is a tamal tree? If he is a tamal tree, then how is it possible for him to walk and be so beautiful? Then this personality might be a cloud. If he is cloud, if he if he is a cloud, then where is the beautiful moon within? Under the circumstances, I think it may be granted that this person is the same enchanting personality of Godhead by whose flute vibration the three worlds are captivated. He must be the same Mukunda who is standing before the Govardhan hill." This is another instance of an argumentative presentation of aesthetic love. The Tamala tree always described as being the same color of Krishna.
Anxiety. In the 10th canto, 29th chapter, verse 29 of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna asked all the gopis to go back to their homes, they did not like it because of their grief at this. They were slightly heavily, and their beautiful faces appeared to be drying up. In this condition, they remained without making a sound. They began to draw lines on their ground with their toes, and with their tears they washed the black ointment from the eyes onto their breast, which were covered with red kumkum powder. This is an instance of anxiety and ecstatic love. One of the friends of Krishna once informed him, "My dear killer of the demon Mura, you kind Your kind and gentle mother is very anxious because you have not returned home. With great difficulty, she has passed the evening constantly sitting on the balcony of your home. It is certainly astonishing. How could you forget your mother while you are off somewhere engaged in your playful activities? This is another instance of deep anxiety and ecstatic love. When Mother Yashoda was very anxiously waiting for Krishna to return from Mathura, Maharaj Nanda gave her this solace. My dear Yashoda, please don't be worried. Please dry your beautiful lotus-like face. There is no need for you to breathe so hotly. I will go immediately with Akrura to the place where of Kamsa and get your son back for you. Here is an instance of anxiety and ecstatic love caused by Krishna's awkward position.
Thoughtful, thoughtfulness. In the Vaishakya Mahatmya section of the Padma Puran, a devotee states that though in some of the 18 Puranas the process of glorifying Lord Vishnu is not mentioned and glorifying some of the demigod is offered, such glorification must be continued for millions of years. For when one studies of the Puranas very when one studies the Puranas very scrutinizingly, he can see that ultimately Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is an instance of ecstatic love developed out of thoughtfulness. In the 10th canto, 16th chapter, verse 39 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an account of Rukmini Devi's writing a letter to Krishna requesting him to kidnap her before her marriage to another person. At that time, the specific attachment of Rukmini for Krishna was expressed by Rukmini as follows. My dear Lord Krishna, your transcendental glories are chanted by the sages who are free from the material contamination, and in exchange for such glorification, you are so kind that you freely distribute yourself to such devotees. One can elevate oneself simply by your grace. So by your direction alone one may be lost to all benedictions under the influence of eternal time. Therefore I have selected your lordship as my husband, um, brushing aside personalities like Brahma and Indra, not to mention others. Rukmini enhanced her love for Krishna simply by thinking of him. This is an instance of thoughtfulness and aesthetic love.
Endurance. When a person is fully satisfied due to attaining knowledge, transcending all distress of or achieving the desired goal of life and transcendental devotional service to God, his state of endurance or steady mindedness is called vritti. At this stage, one is not perturbed by any amount of loss, nor does anything appear to be unachieved by him. According to the opinion of Brihat Hari, a learned scholar, when a person is elevated to this state of endurance, he thinks as follows: I do not wish to be highly posted government servant. I shall prefer to remain naked without proper garments. I shall prefer to lie down on the ground without any mattress, and despite of these advantages, I shall refuse to serve anyone, even the government. In other words, when one is in ecstatic love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can endure any kind of disadvantage calculated under the material concept of life. Nanda Maharaj, the father of Krishna, used to think, in my pasturing ground, the goddess of fortune is personally present, and I possess more than 10,100,000 cows which loiter here and there. And above all, I have a son like Krishna, who is such a powerful, wonderful worker. Therefore, even though I am a householder, I am feeling so satisfied. This is an instance of mental endurance resulting from the absence of all distress. In another instance, the devotee says, I am always swimming in the nectarian ocean of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, I have no more attraction for religious rituals, economic development, and sense gratification, or even the ultimate salvation or of merging into the existence of Brahman. This is an instance of mind's endurance due to achieving the best thing in the world. The best thing in the world is absorption in Krishna consciousness.
Happiness. It is described in the Vishnu Puran that when Akrura came to take Krishna and Balram to Mathura, just by seeing their faces, he became so cheerful that all over his body there were symptoms of aesthetic love. This state is called happiness. It is stated in the 10th canto, 33rd chapter, verse 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Upon seeing that Krishna's arm was placed on her shoulder, one of the gopis engaged in the rasa dance became so ecstatically happy that she kissed Krishna on his cheek. This is an instance of feeling happiness because of achieving a desired goal. Eagerness. In the 10th canto, 71st chapter, verse 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, when Krishna first came from his kingdom Dwarka to Indraprastha, the young females of the city became so eager to see him that even at night, when they became when they were lying down with their husbands, they could not restrain their eagerness, even though they were not properly dressed, although their hair was loose and there were so many household duties to perform. Still, they gave up everything and immediately went into the street to see Krishna. This is an instance of eagerness and aesthetic love. Indraprastha is the present day Delhi. In this book, Stavali, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has prayed for the mercy of Radharani, who was captivated by the flute vibrations of Krishna, that she immediately asked information of his weave-outs from residents in the Vrindavan forest. On first seeing Krishna, she was filled with aesthetic love and pleasure that she began to scratch her ears. The damsels of Vaja and Radharani were very expert in talking cunningly. So as soon as they saw Krishna, they began their talkings. And Krishna, pretending to go for some flowers with them, immediately left that place and it entered into a mountain cave. This is another instance of eager, loving exchanges on the part of the both gopis and Krishna.
Violence. When Krishna was fighting with the Kaliya snake by dancing on their heads, Kaliya bit Krishna on the leg. At that time, Garuna became infuriated and began to murmur. Krishna is so powerful that simply by his thundering voice, the wives of Kaliya have had miscarriages. Because my lord has been insulted by the snake, I wish to devour him immediately. But I cannot do so in the presence of my lord because he may become angry with me. This is an instance of eagerness to act in ecstatic love as a result of his dishonor to Krishna. When Shishupal objected to the worship of Krishna in the Rajasuya arena at the sacrifice organized by Maharaj Yudhishthir, Sahadev, the younger brother of Arjuna, said, "A person who cannot tolerate the worship of Krishna is my enemy and is possessed of a demoniac nature. Therefore, I wish to strike my left foot upon his broad head, thus to punish him more strongly than the wand of Yamraj." Then Baldev began to lament like this: "Oh, all auspiciousness to Krishna, to Lord Krishna, I'm so surprised to see that the condemned descendants of the Guru dynasty who so unlawfully occupied the throne of the Guru kingdom are criticizing Krishna with diplomatic devices. Oh, this is intolerable. This is another instance of eagerness caused by dishonor to Krishna."
Haughtiness resulting in the dishonorable words. In the Vigdad, Vigad Madhava Jatila, the mother-in-law of Radharani, began to criticize Krishna in this way. Krishna, you are standing here, and Radharani, who has just been married to my son, is also standing here. Now I know both of you very well. So why should I not be very anxious to protect my daughter-in-law from your dancing eyes? This is an instance of dishonorable words used to indirectly criticize Krishna. Similarly, some of the gopis once began to address Krishna with these dishonorable words. My dear Krishna, you're a first-class thief. So please leave this place immediately. You know that we know that you love Chandravali more than us, but there is no use in praising her in our presence. Currently, do not contaminate the name of Radharani in this place. This is another instance of dishonorable words uh, cast upon Krishna and aesthetic love. There is another statement in the 10th canto, 31st chapter, verse 16 of Srimad Bhagavatam, when all the gopis came out of their homes to meet Krishna in the Vrindavan forest. Krishna refused to accept them and asked them to go home, giving some moral instruction. At that time, the gopis spoke as follows: Dear Krishna, there is extreme distress in being out of your presence, and there is extreme happiness simply in seeing you. Therefore, we have all left our husbands, relatives, brothers, and friends, and simply come to you, being captivated by the sound of your transcendental truth. O infallible one, You had better know the reason for our coming here. In plain words, we are here simply because we have been captivated by your sweet sound of your flute. We are all beautiful girls, and so foolish that you are rejecting our associate. And you are so foolish that you are rejecting our association. We do not know anyone other than ourselves who would miss this opportunity to associate with young girls in the dead of night. This is another instance of indirect insults used against Krishna and aesthetic love.
Envy. In the Padyavali, one of the friends of Radharani once addressed her thus: My dear friend, please do not be puffed up. Please do not be too puffed up because Krishna has decorated your forehead with his own hand. It may not be that Krishna is yet attracted by some other beautiful girl. I see that the decoration on your forehead is very nicely made, and so it appears that Krishna was not too disturbed in painting it. Otherwise, he could not have painted such exact lines. This is an instance of envy caused by Radha's good fortune. In the 10th canto, 13th chapter, verse 30 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the following statement: when the gopis were searching for Krishna and Radha after the Rasa dance, thus they began to speak among themselves. We have seen the footprints of Krishna and Radha on the ground of Vrindavan, and they are giving us great pain because although Krishna is everything to us, that girl is so cunning that she has taken him away alone and is enjoying his kissing without sharing him with us. This is another instance of envy of the good fortune of Srimati Radharani. Sometimes, when the cowherd boys used to play in the forest of Vrindavan, Krishna would play on one side and the Balram would play on another. There would be competition and mock fighting between the two parties. When Krishna's party was defeated by Balram, the boys would say, if Balram's party remains victorious, then who in the world can be weaker than ourselves? This is another instance of envy in ecstatic love.
Impudence. In the 10th canto, 52nd chapter, verse 41 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Rukmini addresses a letter to Krishna as follows: My dear unconquerable Krishna, my marriage day is fixed for tomorrow. I request you that you come to the city of Vidarbha without advertising yourself. Then have your soldiers and commanders suddenly surround and defeat all the strength of the king of Magadh. And thus, by adopting the methods of the demons, please kidnap me and marry me. According to the Vedic system, there are 8 kinds of marriages, one of which is the Rakshasa Vivah. Rakshasa Vivaha refers to kidnapping a girl and marrying her by force. This is considered to be demoniac method. When Rukmini was going to marry to be Shishupal by the choice of her elder brother, she wrote the above letter to Krishna requesting him to kidnap her. This is an instance of impudence and aesthetic love for Krishna. One of the gopis said, "May Krishna's sweet flute be washed away by by the waves of Yamuna, and let it fall into the ocean." The sweet sound of that flute is so impudent that it makes us lose all the composure before our superiors.
Busyness. Every evening at sunset, Krishna used to return from the pasturing ground where he herded cows. Sometimes, when Mother Yashoda could not hear the sweet vibrations, okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue just from tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.